Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso at thewatchbox.com, for purchase and pricing details of this watch or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Reach out to tmosso at thewatchbox.com. Today, we're discussing the vintage Omega no one talks about, but everyone should. This is the Omega Constellation 95, based on the 1982 Manhattan design, or Griffin Claw bezel. This watch arrived in 95 to unite that enduring style with a modern chronometer certified movement and a fascinating integrated, almost rouleau style bracelet. This is a gorgeous watch. Now the timepiece is remarkably compact. As I measure it, it's 35.5 millimeters, but it wears more like a 36 or a 37. There are no concerns about it feeling small. Now from profile, you can really see how thin this watch is at 9.8 millimeters, and from lug to lug, only 41.6 millimeters. Because of the way the bracelet's integrated, it is super compact. And on the wrist, it is incredibly comfortable. This is a gorgeous modern-day Omega Constellation. I think we have it in our heads that the Connie went downhill after the 82 redesign, and while some of the later evolutions, like the Double Eagle or the 2009 full-line redesign, didn't necessarily appeal to Omega traditionalists, anyone who loves the historic C-case and pie pan constellations from the 50s and the 60s could love this watch. It's simply beautiful. Look how it sits underneath the cuff. Look how compact it is from overhead. Look at this down the barrel shot. I have infinite space on either side, and you could wear this watch on a wrist as small as 13 centimeters circumference, but because of the integration of lug, case, and bracelet, it appears larger. Now looking at it in profile, you can see how this bracelet's put together. They're satin finished, longitudinally satin finished, or I should say laterally satin finished, primary links, and then there are polished intermediate rollers. It's an awesome look that's incredibly handsome from any angle and nicely integrated with the case. Taking a quick look at the clasp, you can see it features a slider system to ease in the sizing once it's going onto the wrist. It features a single trigger release system, so it stays resolutely shut. There's a small yellow gold inserted Omega logo. It is a very comfortable bracelet, ranking amongst the finest I've ever worn. The case is simple but strong. There's satin finish that, as with the primary links, it's transverse, and then it wraps around the side of the case. That contrasts with the hard polish of the Griffin Claw, and you'll note that the watch is pretty much bracketed by them. The dial sort of blends into the bezel as it's outboard with the radially arrayed Roman numerals, where you're going to quickly register the current hour. There are indices on the dial and there are appliques, so you don't get the sense that this is a printed dial the way the Speedmasters and Seamasters of the 90s were. This is more upscale. You can also see that the hands are beautifully bright polished Dauphine style, and the dial has a lovely quasi-linen texture to it, but unlike the somewhat rough and irregular linen, this is more like a crosshatch pattern. Now if you look closely, you can see no detail has been overlooked, as there is the Omega star logo reminding you that the Constellation was once an observatory chronometer, as in its earliest days, which is why you have the observatory and the stars on the reverse side. This one is a COSC certified chronometer. And then you have the Omega logo applique. Remember, back in the 90s, the Speedmasters and the Seamasters were all printed dials. There's even a polished aperture, which is beautifully faceted for the date. You can see the crown is simple, all of polish with the Omega logo. Underneath that case back, we have Omega Caliber 1120, which is a 23 jewel version of the standard ETA 2892A2, but this one has been adjusted in 5 positions and chronometer certified. Remember, there are some changes from the 2892A2 to the Omega 1120. It gains 2 jewels, the winding system is reinforced, it's adjusted in 5 positions and COSC certified to become a chronometer, and it has an extra 2 hours of power reserve, going from 42 to 44. Separately, the system features a hacking function, so you can set the watch to the second, and then there's a quick set for the date. All of this in a movement that is protected down to 50 meters, which was rather remarkable for a dress watch, as the standard for dress watch has long been 30 meters. It's a chronometer, it's an integrated bracelet, it's a classic model line, it's a gorgeous design, and it's a relatively unknown, now 25-year-old Omega vintage watch. Email tmosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. The Omega Constellation, beating away at 8 beats per second by night.